una unidad a la insurgentes. Para que trasladen al compañero que lleva la
The administration that runs the government of Kenya today, it is our intention to professionalize our security sector, more specifically, our police and our prison officers. It is our intention. And we are going to work with you to make sure that men and women who serve in our police service are proud of being the men and women who look after our children, who look after our property, and who provide that service that secures our country.
Understanding the National Police Service in Kenya is essential for both professionals and ordinary citizens. This is the service tasked to ensure safety and security across the nation. Kenya has a National Police Service composed of the Kenya Police Service, Administration Police Service, the Internal Affairs Unit, and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations. The Directorate of Criminal Investigations specializes in investigating complex crimes, including fraud, homicide, and cybercrime. The Directorate of Criminal Investigations in Kenya employs a workforce of 6,170, including detectives, forensic experts, and support staff, and is headed by a director. There are approximately 15 specialized units operating under the Directorate of Criminal Investigations in Kenya. The Internal Affairs Unit is an oversight body tasked with investigating allegations of misconduct, corruption, and abuse of power by police officers. The Internal Affairs Unit is headed by an officer not below the rank of Assistant Inspector General, who serves as a director. The Kenya Police Service handles general law enforcement, crime prevention, and public order. The Kenya Police Service employs approximately 74,251 police officers and is headed by a Deputy Inspector General. The Kenya Police Service has a total of 12 formations that focus on different aspects of law enforcement and public safety. The Administration Police Service focuses on border security, protection of government property, and assisting in disaster management. The Administration Police Service employs approximately 26,409 police officers and is headed by a Deputy Inspector General. The Administration Police Service in Kenya has a total of 17 specialized units within 5 formations, each focused on specific areas such as border control, VIP protection, and counter-terrorism. The National Police Service is the umbrella law enforcement organ in Kenya. The service was established in 2011 under Article 243 of the Constitution of Kenya, following the dissolution of Kenya Police Force and Administration Police Force. The National Police Service is under the overall and independent command of the Inspector General, who is appointed by the President and approved by Parliament. The National Police Service employs about 100,000 police officers and paramilitary personnel. The National Police Service is divided into general duty and formations. General duty comprises components, with regions being the largest and police patrol bases being the smallest. General duty police officers are responsible for responding to emergency calls, patrolling neighborhoods, and enforcing laws on a daily basis. Regional police commander is in charge of a region. County police commander is in charge of officers in the county. Sub-county police commander superintends sub-county. Officer commanding station is in charge of a police station in a ward and oversees all its police posts and patrol bases, which are under ward commanders. While formations are specialized units within the police department that focuses on specific tasks such as investigations, traffic control, and anti-terrorism. The Kenyan police formations units are headed by commandants, otherwise referred to as directors, who hold the rank of Senior Assistant Inspector General of Police, AIG. These formations include the General Service Unit, designed to function as a dynamic operational force aiming to handle situations that impact the nation's internal security, emphasizing its role in dealing with evolving challenges rather than being relegated to static duties. Diplomatic Police Unit, to provide security for diplomatic missions and personnel. Traffic Police Department manages traffic laws and road safety. Kenya Police College, responsible for training new recruits and ongoing professional development. Kenya Police Air Wing handles aerial operations and surveillance. Presidential Escort Unit provides security for the President and other high-profile individuals. Railway Police ensures the security and safety of railway infrastructure and operations. Kenya Police Dog Unit utilizes trained dogs for various law enforcement activities. Tourism Police Unit focuses on safety of tourists and tourist areas. Kenya Airports Police Unit ensures security at major airports. Maritime Police Unit responsible for law enforcement in coastal and maritime areas. Officers from the Inspector General to the Inspector wear badges of rank on their shoulders, whereas officers from Senior Sergeant to Constable wear badges of rank on their sleeves of their uniform to denote their rank. In line with ongoing reforms, the Uniforms Committee is also working on new insignia for the revised rank structure, which will have to be approved by the National Police Service Commission. For the Inspector General, crossed scimitar sword and swagger cane surrounded by a laurel wreath surmounted by 2 line badges, and 2 rows of twisted oak leaf goddess on the cap. For the Deputy Inspector General, crossed scimitar sword and a swagger cane surrounded by a laurel wreath surmounted by a military pattern star and a lion badge, and 2 rows of twisted oak leaf silver or gold lace on the cap. For the Senior Assistant Inspector General, a crossed scimitar sword and a swagger cane surrounded by a laurel wreath surmounted by a lion badge, and 2 rows of twisted oak leaf silver or gold lace on the cap. For the Assistant Inspector General, a crossed scimitar sword and a swagger cane surrounded by a laurel wreath surmounted by 2 military pattern stars, and 2 rows of twisted oak leaf silver or gold lace on the cap. For the Commissioner, 2 crossed spears surrounded by a laurel wreath surmounted by 1 military pattern star, 1 row of twisted oak leaf silver or gold lace on the cap. For the Senior Superintendent, 2 military pattern stars surmounted by a lion badge. For the Superintendent of Police, 1 military pattern star surmounted by a lion badge. For the Assistant Superintendent, a lion badge surmounted by a laurel wreath. For the Chief Inspector, 3 military pattern stars. And for the Inspector, 2 military pattern stars. For the Senior Sergeant, 3 bars worsted chevrons with a Kenya coat of arms. For the Sergeant, 3 bars worsted chevrons. For the Corporal, 2 bars worsted red chevrons. The order of Kenya Police ranks is as follows: Inspector General, Deputy Inspector General, Senior Assistant Inspector General, Assistant Inspector General, Commissioner of Police, Senior Superintendent, Superintendent, Assistant Superintendent, Chief Inspector, Inspector, Senior Sergeant, Sergeant, Corporal, then Constable. The recruitment and training of police officers in Kenya is a structured process governed by the National Police Service Commission and legal frameworks established under the Constitution of Kenya. Police recruitment in Kenya typically occurs at designated centers across the country. Key locations include County Commissioner's Office. These are often the primary centers for receiving application and conducting initial screening. The sub-county police stations. Smaller scale recruitment activities might take place at this level. Designated recruitment centers. In some cases, specific venues or schools might be selected for recruitment exercises. Applicants must meet the following requirements: being a citizen of Kenya, holding a valid national ID card, meeting educational qualifications, a minimum mini grade of D+ in KCSE or equivalent, being aged between 18 and 29 years for secondary school graduates or up to 30 years for diploma and degree holders, being physically, mentally and medically fit, having no criminal record or pending charges. The recruitment process for police officers in Kenya typically involves several key steps. The National Police Service announces recruitment exercises through various media channels, detailing the number of positions available, eligibility criteria, and application procedures. Interested candidates submit their applications through designated portals or in person at specific locations such as police stations or huduma centers. After applications are submitted, shortlisted candidates are invited for physical assessment at designated recruitment centers. This includes verification of documents and physical fitness tests. The recruitment process for police officers in Kenya is highly competitive, with only 50% of applicants passing through the initial pre-screening. Once recruited, successful candidates undergo basic training program that usually lasts about 9 months at the National Police Service College in Kiganjo, Nyeri County. Recruits undergo basic training that covers law enforcement principles, human rights, education, physical fitness, firearm handling, and community policing. For recruits joining the Administration Police Service, special training will be done at the Administration Police Training College in Embakasi. Throughout the training period, recruits are assessed on their performance through examinations, practical exercises, and evaluations by instructors. The basic police training course typically lasts 9 months to 1 year, depending on the specific requirements of the training institution and curriculum being followed. Upon successful completion of the training, recruits graduate in a passing out parade where they are formally inducted into the Kenya Police Service. Graduates are then deployed to various police stations, posts, and specialized units across the country, based on the needs of the service. After basic training, officers may receive specialized training in various units, such as anti-terror police unit, traffic police, and criminal investigations. Recruits are typically bonded to serve in the National Police Service for a minimum period often set at 10 years to ensure retention and commitment to public service. Policing in Kenya can be traced back to about 137 years ago, in the period between 1887 and 1902, tracing its foundation on the Imperial British East African Company and a businessman named Sir William Mackinac, who in the interest of his business found it necessary to provide some form of protection for his stores along the coastline of Kenya. The Kenya Police Force was established in 1902 during the British colonial era and has since grown to become one of the largest police forces in Africa. It is from these origins that the concept of constituting a real police service was formed in Mombasa. Generally, police activities centered on protection of businesses of the Imperial British East African Company, where the strength was mainly of Indian origin, with a skeleton staff of some Africans, otherwise referred to as askaris. During those early stages of the small police force, its duties were negligible. The construction of the Kenya-Uganda Railway provided for the growth of this infant force inland from our coastline, and by 1902, there existed police service units at Mombasa, Nairobi, and Kisumu for the purpose of safeguarding railway property and materials, as well as the manpower engaged in constructing the railway. In essence, peace, law, and order had to be maintained despite the fact that the personnel employed then had little training. The laws in force were from India, including the Indian Criminal Procedures Code, the Indian Evidence Act, and the Police Ordinance. It is notable that up to 1907, the Kenya Police was organized along military lines and the training was military in nature. When the Police Ordinance was enacted, establishing the Kenya Police Force, giving roots to major developments in policing towards independence in 1963. Later on in 1926, the Criminal Intelligence Unit was established with the sole responsibility of collecting, tabulating, and recording the history and data of criminals, undesirable and suspicious persons. And even much later on in 1929, Tribal Police Ordinance Number 10 was enacted. The objective of this ordinance was to provide command and administrative powers, training, and armament to the native police, which was renamed the Tribal Police. But nonetheless, in 1958, the Tribal Police Ordinance was changed to the Administration Police Act, and the force commenced centralized training in Ruringu, Nyeri. The focus of the training was on basic recruit instructions, promotional and prosecution courses for the native courts. Upon attainment of independence in 1963, the provincial administration and the administration police were moved from the Ministry of Native Affairs to the office of the Prime Minister, then to the office of the President, where they have remained to date. Established in 1948, the Maseno Depot was created to cope with the increasing powers and responsibilities of police officers in a rapidly changing society. It aimed to provide more advanced training and specialization to meet the evolving demands of law enforcement in Kenya following the earlier Nairobi Depot. Additionally, the General Service Unit was initially established as an emergency company or regular police reserve in 1948 during the Mau Mau uprising. It began with a small unit of 50 men armed with brain guns and armored. It tasked maintaining order during a period of significant unrest. However, in September 1953, the unit was officially renamed the General Service Unit. At the time, it comprised 47 European officers, 1,058 African officers, organized into 5 regional companies. A criminal investigative department, CID, was established in 1957. After Kenya gained independence in 1963, the police force was restructured, renamed, and reformed several times. to meet the ideals and aspirations of the Kenyan people. The promulgation of the new constitution in 2010 led to the establishment of the National Police Service, which unified the Kenya Police Service, Administration Police Service, and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations. The National Police Service Act 2011 and the National Police Service Commission Act provided a legal basis for the operation and governance of the police, introducing measures for oversight and accountability. The Kenya Police Service began to adopt community policing strategies aimed to building trust and cooperation with the public. This approach sought to transform the police image from that of an oppressive force to one of community service and protection. The National Police Service Commission is one of the independent commissions established under Chapter 15 of the Constitution of Kenya. The commission is established under Article 246 of the Constitution. It took over, among other functions, the human resource management function of the police service that previously was being handled by the Public Service Commission. In 2012, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations was formed to handle complex criminal investigations. One of the most significant reforms has been the establishment of independent bodies such as the Independent Policing Oversight Authority (IPOA) in 2011. The Independent Policing Oversight Authority is tasked with investigating complaints against police officers and ensuring accountability for misconduct. This body aims to restore public confidence in law enforcement by providing an avenue for redress. The National Police Service may have been designed with certain values in mind. Despite the reforms and recent rapid developments, the National Police Service has significantly fallen short of its obligations. In fact, it has severely underperformed. Shockingly, the Kenyan police ranked the world's third worst by the World International Security and Police Index in 2016. And even more recently, a study by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission found that 90% of Kenyans perceive the police as corrupt. Moreover, a report by Amnesty International found that incidents of police brutality in Kenya have been on the rise, with the cases of extrajudicial killing, excessive use of force, and torture being widespread. It is imperative to note Kenya's police force is significantly understaffed, with a ratio of 1 police officer for every 1,150 citizens, well below the international standards of 1 officer for every 450 citizens. The shortage of trained officers has resulted in long working hours and burnouts, leading to low morale and increased corruption. Concerningly, a survey by Kenya National Bureau of Statistics found that the police are the most feared institution in Kenya. Whilst at that, a report by Human Rights Watch found that police killings are often not investigated or prosecuted in Kenya, leaving victims without justice. Furthermore, a different research by Telegraph found that Kenyans are 5 times more likely to be shot dead by the police than by criminals. All these issues erode public confidence in the police, much to the extent that 76% of Kenyans do not trust the police to protect them. Honestly, there is so much that unpleasant and concerning reports and statistical findings over the years about the Kenya police that I wouldn't be proud to have explicitly listed in one documentary. It is now more than ever clear to everyone that radical reforms are urgently required to transform the police to the service it was intended to be. The radical reforms must be in line with eradicating corruption within the service, creating stronger offices to monitor and prevent human rights violations within the service, eliminating political interference within the police, better training the police on principles of community policing, as well as drastically increasing the resources available to the police. We just can't afford to get it wrong this time. It has to work, without which we shall be laying the foundation stones for a catastrophic future of policing in Kenya. Currently, with the way things are going, that future seems inevitable. A doomsday possible future scenario could look like this. If the Independent Policing Oversight Authority fails to function effectively due to the lack of resources or political interference, incidents of police misconduct could rise. This will lead to increased public outcry and protests against police brutality, similar to what has been observed in other regions facing similar issues. As public trust in police diminishes, communities may resort to self-policing and vigilante justice. This could result in a rise in violent confrontations between community members and the police, further destabilizing law enforcement efforts. If corruption within the police service continues unchecked, resources intended for training and community engagement might be misappropriated. This could lead to poorly trained officers who are ill-equipped to handle complex security challenges, resulting in ineffective policing and increased crime rates. Should political leaders continue to use the police for personal and political gain, the National Police Service could become increasingly militarized and politicized. This could lead to police being deployed to suppress dissent rather than protect citizens, further alienating the public. The culmination of these factors will lead to widespread social unrest, with communities feeling unsafe and unprotected. Protests against police action could escalate into riots and leading to a cycle of violence and repression. As human rights abuses come to light, international organizations may impose sanctions or cut funding, further crippling the National Police Service's ability to operate effectively. This could lead to a lack of resources for essential services, exacerbating the security crisis. To avoid taking Kenya to jeopardy, here is what must be done. The Kenya National Task Force on Police Reforms must be implemented to its entirety. 1. In line with the Working Commission report, the police must be devolved. Policing by the Kenya Police has in recent years been undertaken through highly centralized command structures from Kenya Police Headquarters in Nairobi. Due to the manner of the appointments and centralized powers vested in the Inspector General of Police, there has been very little accountability to the people that the police are meant to serve. Until now, the Inspector General has been accountable to the President alone, while the officers below him are accountable to the Inspector General. This has made the police vulnerable to both political and hierarchical misuse. The report contains far-reaching recommendations aimed at moving away from an overly centralized command structure by devolving powers and responsibilities to lower levels and providing greater operational and financial autonomy to the commanders at regional, county, and station level. It is also recommended that the Directorate of Criminal Investigations be shielded from political and other improper interferences. 2. In line with the working report, the establishment of a civilian-based regional policing authority is recommended for each region. This forum will consist of 9 civilian members of good standing representing the business sector, civil society, professional bodies, and religious organizations. A third must be women. The members will elect their non-executive chairperson. The establishment of a regional policing authority in each region will make it possible for the police to engage with the members of the authority on issues such as setting regional policing priorities, preparing the regional budget, and developing a policing plan. However, the police service will retain full operational, financial, and management autonomy. Remunerations and working conditions of police officers must be improved in line with the Kenyan National Task Force on Police Reforms report. Many police officers are of the view that the government is quick to respond to salary demands of other categories of public servants, but gives minimum attention to those of the police. A police constable in whom the public wants to entrust their security is paid a basic salary which is significantly lower than salaries of other organizations sampled in the report. The report recommends an overhaul of police salaries and that a significant portion of the national budget be dedicated to improving police salary levels.
3. Operation Support Unit must be disbanded. As far as many Kenyans are concerned, this is a criminal enterprise who enjoys state resources and protection, because how on earth will you convince anyone that these individuals are police officers and are supposed to protect them? It has previously been made clear that these individuals are up to no good and are of no good. Their main objective is to kill and suppress dissenting voices. That cannot be acceptable in a democracy. Historically, Kenya has never had a police unit whose members are majorly from one ethnic community and operate in plain clothes with masks on their faces. To restore the dignity of the Kenyan democracy, this unit must go. This is against the National Police Service Code of Conduct, but still contravening the very fundamental principles of our constitution.
The last thing that must be done is to strengthen the existing structures like the Internal Affairs Unit and the Independent Police Oversight Authority to enhance effectiveness in dealing with, investigating, and prosecuting issues of abuse of power, police brutality, indiscipline, and all other excesses of the service, as well as working on a better framework to remove trigger-happy police officers from the service, because this has worked elsewhere. An example where devolving police resulted in better policing is Germany. Germany operates under a federal system where the police powers are divided between the federal, state, and municipal level. Each of the 16 states has its own police force, which allows for localized decision-making and policing strategies tailored to the specific needs of the community. The decentralized structure has facilitated a community-oriented policing approach, enabling police forces to engage more effectively with the local populations. This has led to the improved trust between law enforcement and communities, with public confidence in the police remaining high, with about 70% of Germans expressing trust in their local police force, resulting in better crime prevention and resolution. Each state police force can develop specialized units that address local issues such as drug-related crime, organized crime, which has enhanced the overall effectiveness of policing. The devolution of policing powers has also allowed more robust accountability mechanisms at the state level, where local government can monitor and evaluate police performance, leading to increased transparency and public trust. Could this happen in Kenya? Why is it possible there and it's not possible here?
That we have absolute no option but to transform ourselves. If you are incapable of transforming yourself from when the police was a man, then you might find yourself in very uncomfortable waters. Because the operating environment has changed, so you will have to change yourself. But what we mean is you have to be fully conscious of your surroundings and operate in a manner that is acceptable by the people of this country. Huwezi fanya kazi ya hii kazi tunajua tu na lazima nifanye hivi. No, sababu watu wa nchi hawataki hivyo. Bottom line is you must understand that wewe ni mtumishi wa watu wa nchi hii. It's not the other way around. And the truth is, because there is empirical evidence from none other than the National Police Service Commission itself, is that from the vetting exercises that they have carried so far, is that out of every 100 officers they get, only 4 have issues. The rest 96 wako sawa. What is this already fire? So there's a complete difference between perception, which you correctly say we need to correct by operating differently, operating in a way that is acceptable back to the public for those remaining 4. So kama wewe ndio kati ya hao wanne out of 100, I think ni afadhali utafuta kazi nyingine. Sio? Kuliko kuharibia wale 96.
Kwa wasotujua twajitambulisha rasmi leo kwenu, kikosi cha utawala na vitengo mbalimbali na kazi zao mbalimbali. Toa inta maskioni tukujuze leo, na vitengo mbalimbali na kazi zao mbalimbali. Toa inta maskioni tukujuze leo.